Yes.
Resolution number 20-674, in the matter of approving for a specific occurrence, a suspension of Rule 3, speaker registration, Rule 4, limitations, and Rule 7, public comment procedures from the rules governing public comment before the Board of County Commissioners of Delaware County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I'd just like to point out for the participants that are calling or that are participating, this is waiving some of the rule restrictions we have. So that's what this motion does. We'll take a vote.
Resolution number 20, vote on motion 2674. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Okay, now hopefully we've got the technology issues worked out. I apologize. This is our first hearing of many that we have scheduled in the coming months. You know, as you would expect, we have not been able to hold these hearings, and we've had these a number of these be continued, and we need to get some of them processed. So this is our first one, and we're going to do our best to give everyone a chance and make sure this is a fair hearing. And so again, I'll go through the introductions. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is Gary Merrill, our Vice President. To my left is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis. And I will review the outline of what will happen today for those of you who are on the call. I'd like to welcome everyone to the reconvening of the final hearing for the consideration of the Radnor Township 2015-1 Drainage Improvement Petition Project. For the health, safety, and well-being of county residents in response to the continued threat of COVID-19 in accordance with the orders of the Ohio Director of Health, public participation in this hearing will be by virtual means. This is new for us, as I mentioned, and for you, we ask for your patience as we work together through this hearing to make sure we hold a good hearing. Here's an overview of what will happen today. We'll hear a summary of the final hearing report from the county engineer. Okay. Hang on, we have.
We're still on, coming through live. And I don't think anybody
Can they hear us at the Soil and Water?
Can you wave if you can hear us? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, good. We'll hear a summary of the final hearing report from the county engineer and Soil and Water Conservation District. The county engineer and Soil and Water Conservation District will then cover a presentation on the project. This presentation will include additional maps, current photos, photos of the path of proposed construction, and pictures of similar construction to better illustrate what is being proposed. This presentation will also include a sample amortization of a construction assessment to illustrate what an 8-year repayment may look like, an explanation of maintenance assessments, and an illustration of what a percentage collection means. Copies of the county engineer's report and draft of the presentation overview of the project, including a map, were mailed to landowners, so you will be able to follow along. Following the presentation, there will be a time for questions from the Board of Commissioners. After questions will be the time for testimony from landowners. During the testimony, you will be asked to take an oath, and this is where our clerk, Jennifer Walraven, will read a list of the people who have responded in favor and opposition.
So I have that on the record.
Yes, so that we have them on the record. Then continuing on, those speaking for or against the project must be either an owner, as defined in section 6131.01 of the revised code, or an attorney speaking on behalf of an owner. When it is time to offer testimony, we will work our way through the participants on the Zoom platform and call. You may at first be identified by your phone number as the participant who is up next to offer testimony. Your line or connection will be unmuted, and you will be asked to identify yourself and if you wish to testify. If you are part of the Zoom virtual hearing, you are not required to testify, but you may choose to do so when asked. Typically, we hear from all those in favor and then all those against, but this might not work in this virtual situation. So please confirm if you are in favor of the project or opposed to the project. Testimony will continue if new information comes up or additional people wish to speak. After testimony, the board will close the public hearing. After listening to testimony and reporting the engineer, the board will then decide whether to find in favor of the improvement, affirming the order, confirming the maintenance assessments, and approve the payment schedule, or the board may dismiss the petition by setting aside the order, or the board may also continue the hearing to another date. The board considers the following in their decision: whether the board hereby finds that the proposed improvement is necessary, that it will be conducive to the public welfare. The board also finds that it is reasonably certain that the cost of the proposed improvement will be less than the benefit. So again, please, if you can, make sure you're muted while you're not speaking, and then you can mute. I covered that.
You
Yeah.
said that, okay.
Okay, so again, this is an experiment. We hope to make it happen and have a proper hearing. So those are the outline of the process. At this point, I will turn it over to Brett Bacon, who will lead us through the report and his presentation. And if you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Brett Bacon, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. We have a short presentation that will outline the project and aspects of the final hearing report. Before I start the presentation, I just want to point out, when I was going through it yesterday, I discovered just a couple minor errors in some of my calculations. And I'll point these out when we get to the slide, but essentially what I had done originally was calculate the maintenance assessment against our assessment example, including interest. That is not how that works. It's only calculated against the final construction cost. And then on a subsequent slide, then I listed the annual maintenance assessment as a totality for both halves. In reality, it's divided into two halves, but I'll point that out when we get to that slide. For folks following at home, we're going to try to mirror the presentation here, but if you're following along on the mailing you got from Jennifer, I'll try to prompt you when to turn the page. So the Radnor 2015-1 Drainage Improvement Project, proposed per ORC 6131. Project timeline: November 18th, 2016, the petition was filed by Gary M. and Lisa A. Cooper and others. January 30th, 2017, the viewing was held. April 6th, 2017, the first hearing was held. At the first hearing, the commissioners approved the project to advance to the survey and design phase. The petition, if you want to switch pages, the petition specifically calls for commencing in Delaware County, Radnor Township, in the Radnor Township number 2015-1 watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termini of the existing improvement. Specifically, it asks to generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required, and or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested of this petition. Changing pages, the watershed is 253 acres. You can see it on the map there. It is 46% agricultural land, 29% rural residential, 22% woodland, and 3% road right-of-way. The original petition was signed by 5 of the 51 parcels in the watershed, and you can see those represented shaded parcels there. The items of work proposed by the engineering plan: open channel, 3 to 4 feet deep, surface drain improvements, subsurface drain tile, 6 inches, 8 inches, and 15 inches in diameter with tile main breathers, a rock line channel for grade stabilization, and improvements to the road right-of-way. We have a drone video. This video was taken March 6th at a time when we thought the hearing was going to be March 19th. So I just want to make sure everybody knows when this was taken. It will start at the bottom end of the project on the main, work its way upstream to the upstream end of the main, and then circle out to the lateral and come down the lateral from upstream to downstream. Some representative pictures of the items of construction. This would be a representative open channel. This would be a rock line channel, again, used to provide grade stabilization, prevent erosion. This is a good example of a surface drain through yards. This is what a tile main breather looks like. And this is a project reseeded following subsurface drain installation. Project cost estimate. Construction, $65,377.25. Administration, planning, and construction inspection, $10,876.96. Drainage maintenance pay-in, $3,393.96. Contingency, $13,575.84 for a total of $93,224.01. Of this total, $7,375 for improvements within the Warrensburg Road right-of-way that will be direct assessed to Delaware County, leaving a total amount assessed to the landowners of $85,849.01. Calculations of assessments. The Ohio Revised Code instructs the county engineer to calculate assessments to individual property owners based on the benefits received. Specifically, the code says lands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other man-made causes shall be considered as benefited by an improvement required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands, and that's quoted from ORC 6131.01. Assessments are calculated by taking the acres benefited times the land use factor times the percent use that a parcel would have, and that equals the parcel assessment factor. The percentage share for each parcel then is calculated by taking the parcel assessment factor for that parcel divided by the sum of all the assessment, all the assessment factors. Parcel assessment then is the percent share times the total estimated cost. Payment options. Landowners can make full assessment payment upfront within 30 days of the final hearing or by September 8th, 2020. Also must give notice of intent by August 27th, 2020. They could also choose to have the assessment placed on their property tax bill as a special assessment. And having the assessment placed on property taxes will include interest and other fees if the project is bonded, and auditor and treasurer's 2% collection fee. We have an amortization example for an assessment. The total estimated construction cost of all parts of the project minus the direct assessments is $85,849 and a penny. The average or the mean assessment, not including the right-of-way parcels, is $1,302 or a 1.5% share of the project. Typical example of debt issuing fees, bond counsel, and bank fees is $8,000. The bond interest, 4% of the estimate, $93,849.01. That's the $85,849 plus the $8,000. Times 4% is $3,753.96 interest, giving us a total estimated cost of $97,602.97. This example assumes that all parcels are having the assessment go on their property taxes. 1.5% share of the total estimated cost is $1,464.04. 2% of that for the auditor treasurer fees is $29.28 for a total assessment for the average parcel of $1,493.32. That total assessment divided over 16 semi-annual payments is $93.33. So each half that parcel would be charged $93.33 special assessment to pay for construction of the project. Bidding and construction. Approved projects are advertised for public bid. The lowest and best bid is to be awarded the contract. Projects are not subject to prevailing wage. Bids may not be accepted in excess of the final hearing engineer's estimate. And the final schedule of assessments is reduced pro rata by the difference between the estimated cost and the final cost if the final cost is less than the estimated cost. Upfront payments receive a refund if that final cost is indeed less. Drainage maintenance. Ohio Revised Code 6137 requires projects to be placed onto drainage maintenance following completion. The purpose of maintenance is to keep the project operating at its designed capacity. Maintenance funds are collected as a special assessment, just like the construction assessments. And common maintenance activities include inspections, seeding, repairs, and erosion control. Maintenance assessments are determined based on the final schedule of construction assessments for each parcel. Most projects average between 2.5% and 5% annually for their collection. The collection percentage can vary depending on the maintenance needs of the project, and drainage maintenance is perpetual. It does not go away. So going back to our amortization example, if for the $1,302, and this is where I had my error in my calculations, I did not use the correct figure to calculate the 3% example. $1,302 construction cost times a 3% maintenance collection plus the 2% auditor and treasurer fees would equal a $39.84 annual maintenance assessment for our average parcel. So for the first 8 years, that parcel would have $93.33 and $19.92 each half to pay for construction and maintenance. Once the construction assessment was paid off, in this example in 2029, the only assessment that would be remaining would be the $19.92 for maintenance. Cost benefit. Benefits of drainage improvements exist for both agricultural and residential parcels. The benefit to agricultural parcels is realized by the increased yield as a result of good drainage. Estimated yielding increases given the soils in the area would average 46 bushels per acre for corn and 14 bushels per acre for soybeans, given the appropriate drainage improvements are in place. USDA average crop price for 2018 to 2014 for corn is $3.71 per bushel, and for soybeans, $9.50 per bushel. 46% or 117 acres of the land in the watershed is currently agricultural and land use. Corn, 46 bushels per acre increase times 371 times 117 acres equals $19,967.22 benefit. Soybeans, $14 per acre, bushels per acre increase times 950 times 117 acres equals $15,561. The average annual benefit, assuming an equal split of crops in the watershed, then would be $17,761.11. Benefits to residential parcels focus on quality of life, neighborhood perception, and home site sewage treatment systems. A failed home site sewage treatment system can cost $15,000 to $25,000 to repair or replace. New developments average $1,000 to $3,000 per lot spent on providing adequate drainage outlets. With 31 residential parcels in the watershed, this would equal $31,000 to $93,000 benefit at minimum, given that assumption. Options before the commissioners for their decision. You may approve the project in whole, or you may deny the project in whole. Approval will require setting the repayment period and whether to bond, confirming the schedule of assessments, and ordering the project be advertised for competitive bid. If your decision is to deny, it is recommended to distribute costs incurred to this point to the landowners in the same ratio as determined by the final schedule of assessments. The estimated cost as of the final report writing is $4,300. The revised code requires the engineer to make a recommendation in the final hearing report. This is quoted from the final hearing report. Based on all of the information gathered and generated, I believe this project as proposed is technically feasible and would serve as an adequate outlet for the drainage needs of the watershed. Furthermore, the parcel assessments for this project are within the range of assessments that can be expected for a project of this scope. The testimony brought to the Board of Commissioners by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the cost should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project.
Okay.
I'm going to put the map from the presentation up for your benefit.
Then questions for Soil and Water or County Engineer?
I don't think at this time.
I had a couple. I think Brett, maybe you could answer. Brett Bacon, you could answer these. You say in the slides and in the report that it's 85,000 net to the residential or to the parcel owners, excluding the Delaware County share. But in the actual list, there are a couple Delaware County right-of-way list items.
Correct. The amount that is being direct assessed comes off the total amount. The county still, by virtue of having right-of-way in the watershed, is a landowner, a de facto landowner in the watershed. So the amounts that you're seeing in the schedule of assessments to Delaware County are what is calculated against the right-of-way. So we take the direct assessment off the top because that's work that solely benefits the right-of-way. But the right-of-way also drains into the project, so the right-of-way is treated as a landowner. The reason you see two of them is because there is platted right-of-way, parcels that are actually dedicated to the county, and then there's the unplatted right-of-way, which we take off, the easement, the road right-of-way easement, not platted, not assigned a parcel number, but we take that off of the parcel's acreage and assign it to the county.
Okay.
And that's standard practice. That happens on every project.
So if I were to add up the parcel owners on this page, it would total more than 93,000.
No.
Well, the parcel owner, the dollars on this page do total more than 93,000?
No, the parcel, what you see on that page totals 93,000. The direct assessment has been included in the county parcel.
Okay, well, I'm confused then. Because you've got $11,302 in one and $15,513 in another.
Correct.
And you're saying you're only deducting $8,000 for county.
So you're not seeing all the columns of my spreadsheet. You're only seeing the total amount. Okay. So when we calculate the assessment, we have our total 93,000. I back off the 7,000 and change. I back that off. That gets assigned directly to the county. Then the remaining 85,000 is calculated per our normal assessment calculation procedure, of which the county has two parcels or two calculations for right-of-way. The assessment, the direct assessment, is then added into the parcel that's actually platted. So the one where you see an actual parcel number starts with 99.
Yes.
That parcel includes the 7,300 of direct assessment. So the total of that column would equal the 93,000 total project cost, the total where you see total cost.
Total assessment?
Yes, total assessment. That equals 93 and whatever the change was.
I guess I'm dense. I'm having a hard time understanding. If that final total assessment column totals $93,000, 15 of it is going to Delaware County for one right away, and then another 11 is going to Delaware County for a parcel. It's
all for Warrensburg Road right of way. It's just that some of that right of way is platted into a parcel, and some of it is easement, right of way easement.
But said another way, 93,000 is the total cost.
I think maybe the easiest way to flesh this out, each parcel is assigned a percentage share of the project. And then that percentage share is calculated against the total cost to determine the assessment. So we'll go back to our example in the presentation. That parcel share was 1.5% of the total cost. That 1.5% is calculated against the 85,000, not against the 93, because 7,000 and whatever it was of the 93 is taken off the top and immediately assigned to the county.
No, I get that. It looks to me like if this total assessment column totals $93,000, then Delaware County is going to pay 15 and 11 of that,
right?
26. So the remaining assessments to the non-county.
I see what you're saying. Yes, when I say assessments to the landowners, I'm including the right-of-way as a landowner.
Yeah, so
okay, so yes, the assessments to the landowners are, the actual physical landowners in the watershed are much less than 85,000.
Yeah.
It's just that their percentage ownership of the project is calculated against 85,000. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So
yes.
To restate it, just so everyone listening understands, The total cost of the project are $93,000. The county is going to pay about $26,000.
Correct.
The 26 from the 90 is really what's being assessed to the
non-county.
That's correct. Yes.
That is hard to follow.
It can, yes, I agree.
And if I, as a landowner, I think it's reassuring to know that that part of it is not, it's being separate.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's about 27,000, so 27 from 93 is about 66,000.
So when you figure the interest rates and stuff, it wasn't 26 less 93 that you did the math on, I don't believe.
No, I did it as the 85.
So,
But I didn't figure the county assessments into my average assessment because they're obviously larger. They're not representative.
Yeah.
but you would, I'm talking out loud, so correct me if I'm wrong. So that 2% fee, you did the math on that, included that in the county, but shouldn't that be pulled out as well?
The 4% interest included the county cost. The 2% fee was for that specific parcel example, because that's figured by the auditor and treasurer for each parcel. So yes, the 4%.
4% would only be borrowed against the amount borrowed. We're only paid on the amount borrowed.
Right.
The county wouldn't borrow.
And important to also note that should there be parcels paid up front, the 4% wouldn't be calculated against that amount either.
Right.
So if theoretically, excuse me.
So do you consider that paid up front?
I did not for my example.
But
it would be, yes.
Yeah. It is.
The interest would definitely be less because the county is obviously going to pay their share up front.
So I guess for the purpose of understanding it, if that was all pulled out and the math was done on what is more likely to happen, it might be a little easier.
The cost would be less. Yeah.
For the commissioners to understand.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Okay. Then I had another question. The range of assessments for individual parcels is there's quite a range for individual residential parcels, and not the farmland parcels, but what would cause
Typically percent use.
But and how does that work? Because a lot of these residential parcels are completely within the watershed, and some of them are getting a few $100s, some of them are getting a few $1,000s.
A parcel on the upstream end of the watershed is going to use 100% of the project. Parcel on the downstream end may only use 5 to 10% of the project. So the theory behind the assessment, or our assessment formula, is that parcels don't pay for work that occurs upstream of their parcel.
I know that's a basic premise of the
So
process.
that's and with this watershed, there's just a decent range of percent use based on where they drain into the project.
Okay,
and there's
so
pretty definite breaks in the watershed as far as where the road ditches drain to, and then that affects where the parcels may drain into the project.
Okay. Okay.
So it's if you take two exact parcel, I'll use a 2-acre parcel, two 2-acre parcels with the exact same land use, exact same acres benefit in the watershed, and one lies at a spot where its percent use may be 10%, and one lies where its percent use is 100%, they're going to have very different assessments because of the percent use.
And it's basically the location within the watershed.
Correct.
So I guess in summary, correct me if I'm wrong, the further upstream you are, the more distance your water is traveling and the more property it's affecting.
The more of the improvement you're physically going to use, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. Other questions?
Yes, I guess maybe this is what you're talking about, because I had a question when you've got someone who has a watershed acres is 1.025 and the auditor's acres is 1.14, and then and that person is assessed $2,980, and then you've got somebody who has auditor's acres of 7.352. That's the auditor's acres, a little over 7. And then you've got the watershed acres of 3.4, but that person's assessment is underneath that person's assessment is $2,030.
What are the ID numbers?
The ID
Better
number
flesh this out.
is,
41, I think, is.
yeah, the one, the ID number on the first one is 52044.
No, the two-digit number,
First column.
first column.
Oh, 40 versus 41.
40 versus 41. So I see 41. Where's 40?
Yeah, I think your point is that 40 is
Okay.
1 acre and 41 is 3 acres.
Right.
Okay, yeah,
So
Yeah.
the big difference between these two parcels is you see how the watershed, I can never see the light. See how the watershed line cuts the house in half for 41?
oh, thank you, okay.
So normally what we do is for a residential parcel, it gets assigned a minimum of 1 acre of our higher residential land use value, and then the residual of the parcel is assessed at a lower land use value. That would account for your yards and stuff like that. 41, because the watershed cuts that house in half, it was only assigned a ½ acre of the higher residential land use value, whereas number 40, the entire parcel would have been calculated at the full value. I'd have to look and see from a percent use standpoint. They're probably the same, but I'm not certain.
So that's beyond the percent use standpoint.
Right. There's the other two factors that go into it. So
Okay. I can see why people have a
sure.
tough time understanding that, yeah.
It is
Okay.
confusing.
That's all I had.
Okay. Okay, other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
We're not ready for testimony just yet. So Jennifer?
We have had some applications in favor of the petition filed and some remonstrances against the petition filed. So I would like to make sure that for the record, those are identified. For in favor applications, we've had Giddens filed, Laura Kelly, and the Coopers. And for remonstrances against, we've had Mr. Rittenhouse, Linda and Larry Fraker, Todd Rittenhouse and Dawn, Clements, James and Pamela, Quinn, Ann, Bernice Corwin, Michelle Thomas, Denoris Wood, Mr. Oswald. We have also had 2 filings from Mr. Weber that the board may consider in certain circumstances, and also one from an Irene Cloud.
Okay. Okay, well, we wanted to read those official submissions in favor and opposition for the record, so we've done that. And at this point, we are ready to open it for testimony. And when it's time to offer a testimony, we'll work our way through the participants on the Zoom platform and call. You may at first be identified by your phone number as the participant who's up next. Those speaking for or against of the project must be an owner or an attorney representing that owner. We'll ask you we'll swear you in. And so with that, we will open it up. Can we go ahead with asking for?
Mr. Big, to make a comment. Sure. I realize this is all different, but to the degree that we could do favor first.
That's right, we're good.
Okay,
Right.
I think it makes it
Yeah.
easier for us to understand the testimony.
Right. So typically, if this were an in-person hearing, we would ask for those in favor of it to speak first and then opposed to follow. So we will try to do it that way. So if first we have people who want to speak in favor of the petition. Sarah's giving me a look.
I have no way of doing that on the meeting screen. All I have is either names up here or phone numbers.
Oh, she doesn't know, yeah.
No,
Even if somebody would raise their hand up there, I would have to look, and then it'd be easier for me just to go down the list, see that here. And then they would just have to say when I unmuted them, whether they're for or against.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, we can do it that way.
It makes it a little ugly.
Yeah, how many do we have on the list?
We have 22.
22 participants, okay. All right, well, let's,
And they may not all want to.
right, and some of them won't, but, okay, we'll start, just because of the way this process works, we'll start with that.
The first one is Cottonwood Farms.
Cottonwood Farms,
Yeah, I don't need to comment. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Next,
Aaron Giddens.
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
Aaron Giddens.
Aaron Gidden? Nope, we've got a hand wave.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for not postponing this hearing again so that we would be able to come to a resolution on this sooner rather than later. The longer that this project is delayed, the worse our property is getting. I did submit photos at the beginning of the week along with a letter as to the kind of money that we have put into this.
If you could just pause it just for a second, if you could identify which parcel you are. So
Yes, sir. We're number 15 on the map.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the address. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we need to swear you in as well.
Yes.
Okay, hang on just a second. I have a,
Right there.
I can't see them.
okay. Let me ask you, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You may continue.
Thank you. So, as I said, in the letter that I submitted this week along with the photos, when we first bought our property between in 2015, it was within the year that we noticed some drainage issues in the back of the property. I reached out to Soil and Water at that time, and I was told that yes, they were aware of drainage issues in the watershed, but there was nothing one sole property owner could do. That us just fixing our land would make no difference, and just basically it was everybody who was in the watershed had to participate. So that's when we reached out to some fellow neighbors, found out they were having similar problems for many years prior to that, and decided to move forward with the petition. Our yard has become virtually unusable, especially in the back and more out toward the front. There are giant sinkholes, blowouts. It's dangerous for our kids and pets. We cannot have any gardens. We have an extensive mole and grub problem because the water just will not drain. And as I shared in my letter, with the constant water, there's always going to be these pests. Excuse me. It's not getting any better. Our basement that we spent thousands of dollars to finish has flooded twice, causing additional thousands of dollars in remediation. Mold testing, getting all of that water drained. We would prefer to spend our money on solving this drainage problem rather than constantly dumping money into fixing the things that are affected and impacted by it, as well as not being able to use the property in our acreage that we moved out here to use it for. We would like to just, I am 100% in favor of this petition, and I ask that you please don't delay any longer so that we can move forward and have it fixed and be able to keep our property values secured and make it a very nice place for us to continue to live and have visitors over. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Giddens? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Thank you. Gilliam?
Michael Gillum, 4409. Well, actually, it's
I'll need to swear you in, and if you could identify your parcel, I'll swear you in first. Do you solemnly swear the
Okay.
testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes.
Okay, and which parcel, Michael?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, 36.
36?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Which one?
Number 36.
36.
Before or against?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I assume you would clarify that.
Don't really have any comment other than that I am opposed.
Opposed, okay.
And then I have 3 others here with me. We're all in the same.
Yeah, I saw your name on there several times. You have several parcels in the watershed?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe he's also saying that he has other landowners with him
That are in his,
Oh,
on this call.
okay. Well, we could, if other landowners want to speak, we can do that. They don't have to be in separate lines.
Am I ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. Joette Gillum.
So you don't have to swear.
Okay.
I know.
Did you want to speak, Gillette?
Yes.
Okay, let me swear you in then. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, great. If you could start by identifying which parcel.
Parcel one.
19.
19.
19, okay. Thank you.
I am opposed.
You're 22.
That's-
You'll be 19.
I don't understand why some of the people are allowed to build in the wet spots in the first place, but I just really don't feel that, you know, we should be responsible to cover that.
Okay. Questions, comments? All right, thank you, Joette. Others, Michael or
Yeah.
Joette that want to speak? Other landowners?
I'm parcel 22, Linda Berry.
Okay, let me swear you in, Linda. Number 22, got it. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
No comments, and I oppose.
All right.
Mike?
Okay, anybody
Got
else?
one more.
Mike, one more, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm G. Michael Gillum. On parcels 18, 19, 47.
I'm sorry, which ones?
18, 19, and 47.
Okay.
And I just want to say,
Let me swear you in first. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes,
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
I'm just opposed.
Okay. All right. Very good. Any others, Michael, at your location that wanted to speak?
That's all.
That's it? Okay. We will move on then to the next one, Sarah. Todd Rittenhouse. Mr. Rittenhouse, parcel number 12, I think, is.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Press this.
No, go ahead and talk.
Yes, the Harold Rittenhouse, Harry Rittenhouse.
Okay.
I have 4 parcels.
Hold on, I'll swear you in first.
Okay.
Yep, we'll swear you in, Mr. Rittenhouse, if you would indulge me. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Say yes. Yeah. Yes.
I'm Harold Rittenhouse.
Yeah, he swore you in.
Yep, we gotta.
And I have 4 parcels.
We gotta acknowledge the oath, please, if you would, sir.
So he swore you in that your testimony is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Can you just tell him yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Rittenhouse. You may proceed. If you could identify which parcels first, please.
Yep, go ahead and tell him.
Parcel 12, 13, 29, and 26.
What was the first one? I got
First one's 12. What was the second one?
13.
13.
I don't see a 13 on there.
Isn't in here.
Brett, there's no 13 on here.
So on the, go ahead, say on the map, there's 13 is the house.
There's
13 on the map? Under the house.
Sometimes the auditor's office produces duplicate shape files. Some parcels are underlain under each other. I just didn't catch it on my map. It's not included in the schedule of assessments. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the data was duplicated in the auditor's data. So I took it out of the schedule of assessments. I just didn't get it taken out of the map. It's the same parcel.
Okay.
12 and 13 are the same parcel.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. 12 and 13. What others? I'm sorry, Mr. Rittenhouse.
29 and
29.
26.
And what was the last one?
26.
Okay.
26. All right. I'm looking for.
We're looking for it on the.
Between 43 and 11.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Very good. If you could go ahead and offer any testimony you wanted to make.
Yes, the project is dealing with surface runoff, and I cannot see where this is going to change anything in my land. The water needs to have subsurface tiling done in order for that to be able to take place, and the things that are being done in just trying to eliminate the water from above, it's not going to change that at all. It's going to be the same amount of water coming down, and it does not stay very long in my property, and it's all surface that runs into the ones that are north of me.
Okay. All right. Any other comments, Mr. Rittenhouse?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll go to the next one then, please, Sarah. Jim? Do we have, is it JEM or JEIM? JIM. Okay. So you don't know which parcel it is or anything? You can't tell from that? Okay.
And they're not required to speak.
Yeah, you're not required to speak, but I just want to make sure we give you the opportunity. The person identified as Jim.
His wife.
There we are. Okay, let me swear you in if you wish to say anything.
Okay.
Okay, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, if you could state your name and parcel numbers for the record.
My name is Pamela Clements. We are parcel.
ID number.
Whoop, we lost you there.
Okay. My name is Pamela Clements. We are parcel 55.
55, okay.
And my husband and I are both totally against this project.
Okay. All right, any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next one then, Sarah. Thank you. Lisa and Gary Cooper?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. Let me swear you in if you would, please.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you. Can you proceed?
Okay, we also have Laura Kelly with us, our next door neighbor.
Okay.
So she would like to speak also once we get done.
Okay.
All right, we are for this drainage petition. We purchased land in early 1990s, had soil and water conservation, test the soil to allow for basement and septic. All had been approved as a building lot. We built the home and moved in March of 93, and ever since we've had flooding and standing water. When the leach bed was installed after we moved in, they went to put in a perimeter drain and found the 15-inch tile that we were supposed to tap into was plugged. They had to get approval for an extra 400 square foot of leach bed. We now have 1,800 square feet of leach bed, which is my entire backyard. We have a quote of around $20,000 if our leach bed fails and or needs replaced due to continuous water setting on it. There have been several times where the water was on all four sides of the house, 10 feet from the house. Called Delaware County several times. The ditch was dug out twice. The result of that was water would sit in the ditch with the water coming from the other side of the road through the culvert until it had nowhere to go. It would overflow and travel west of the property line back to the field and the pond. Problem was still there. We deal with this every year, spring and fall, mostly spring into early summer. Water going over the road to where cars almost wipe out. Mosquitoes are bad and is a health issue. Health department comes out regularly to put pellets in the standing water. Not being able to mow for weeks because of standing water. We've had to replace the sump pump several times and it runs often. We've replaced trees because they would root or rot and uproot. Had to seed every year due to water flooding in areas where it washes the topsoil away, causing bare spots. We put our above ground pool in for our kids. We had to build a dam in front of it. That keeps the water away from the pool so it doesn't wipe it out as it comes through the property at a high rate of speed. There are times when we would find fish in our ditch after a heavy rain coming up from the pond up the road. Blacktop driveway was put in about 20 years ago, and over time, due to the water flowing over it, it has been deteriorating. Even after resealing every year, it did not help. It is going to cost us $16,000 to $20,000 to fix or replace the areas that were broken down. Moved into our house, the cattails behind us was 200 feet from the property line. Now it is at our property line. We work with the homeowners or the owners that owns the field behind us. They hired someone to put the swales from our property line to the pond. We rented a bobcat and dug a ditch to the swale on the west side of the lot. This helped get the flow of water to pass through the property, but doesn't eliminate the standing water issues. For the years, it's been getting worse. The tile's plugged, and it keeps getting plugged further and further up the line. It's now starting to back up water on the other side of the road. We worry that our house value has decreased, which will bring down the rest of the housing properties near us. Finally, in 2016, we called Delaware County again. They told us to contact Delaware Water and Soil Conservation. We were told that there was nothing we could do on our property to fix the problem. This goes beyond just not the flooding issues of a few parcels, but the eventual flooding of the roadway and the fields as this gets worse. There is no relief of the flooding waters beyond the backfield and pond. The tile is on 3 different parcels, but not ours. You can see we've tried everything possible remedy we can do. Therefore, the petition is our last resort. We need help. And that is all I've got to say. Now Laura Kelly is here and she would like to speak also.
Was that 55?
That was 31.
31.
Mr. Speaker, yes. Okay, thank you, Gary. Next is Laura Kelly. Well, I don't know, but while she's there, I guess we can go ahead with her. Laura, let me swear you in, if you would please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, great. You can proceed.
Laura Kelly, lot 30.
Yep.
And I think it's most informative to go back to the whole basis of the problem, because over and over the engineers have told us that are getting 100% assessment because our whole property is sinkholes and watershed affected. This came from, because we're in the county, this came from the Co-op Electric Company. And they are very informative about this situation because they quote a biology professor at Wright State and a nationally known expert on wetlands for answers. He said that he had visited, that if he had visited the area before it was cleared for agriculture in the 1800s, I would have found what I was hoping for. Groundwater seeping to the surface, a marshy swamp, and a river's humble headquarters. When settlers came along and decided they needed agricultural land, he says they buried tiles 3 feet below the surface. Those tiles drain the natural occurring springs and wetlands into pipes that then empty into human-made ditches, which only then launch the river into its natural course, leaving behind rich, nutrient-dense farmland. We've been digging those ditches since we first started farming, he said. Agricultural professionals will channelize the ditch to move water more quickly out of the field. First of all, I want to thank the engineers in the soil and water. Outstanding piece of information and analysis of these wetlands. But the problem started 70 to 100 years ago, and we're left with the results of those tiles disintegrating and plugging. And so now they did the best we could, and we need to do the best we could. We've been told over and over, no one of us can solve this watershed problem, that it's a wetland solution. And so it's a community effort done for the greatest good to help our neighbors. The most troubling part for me is, and I have been here 7 years, almost exactly 7 years, the little sinkhole that was about 8 to 10 inches across has now become 3 to 4 feet across and 3 feet deep. You can't mow over it. You'll get caught. The wheels will get caught in it. The pets stumble in it. But the most worrisome part, I have sinkholes and water spouts in front and behind because my property is one of the lowest. I have a sinkhole now. I called Brett Bacon many months ago that's 10 feet away from my garage. 10 feet, it's taken my trees. I've had numerous trees destroyed, and my driveway is a mess with a sinkhole. Those grass bulges out in front by the road are water fountains where the water builds up and then eventually become sinkholes. They plugged the bulges out front, but it didn't stop the sinkholes. My neighbor dug a trench where the worst one was to try to divert the water that is now part of the engineering and soil and water plan. When I called Brett about being disturbed about this latest sinkhole 10 feet from my garage, he said we still had to do this petition in order that it was filed instead of based on worsening, much worsening conditions in the 7 years I've been here. To me, the engineering plan is to benefit the greatest good for a very large area. That drainage problem is getting worse and could not be solved again by any one of us. This is a community effort. So we really need large help by the county to get help for the flooded, dammed, submerged, eroded, and swampland all around us, creating dangerous sinkholes and unproductive land. The engineer explained that the channeling the drainage caused by those ancient broken tiles would, in perpetuity, benefit this large area. And instead of mosquito-infested swamps and sinkholes, we would have sustained productive land with possible orchards, vineyards, riding trails, and a more productive farmland. Seems to me we have a civic responsibility to be stewards of our land because the land is loaned to us by our children. So instead of neighbors helping neighbors, we're a divided lot. But since 100% of my God's little 1 acre, when I stated it was a common goal, when we had that first on-site meeting, Mr. Parks, who has the pond, he asked, "What's this all about anyway?" And I responded, I think it's all about helping our neighbors. And he shouted at me, "You are full of shit." So you see how very divided we are on this topic. Determined by the size of our improved land that each of us owns, and has been carefully calculated how much wetland influences that land, in spite of the fact that we have wonderful financial offers given to us by this petition, and our engineers have calculated financial help with all kinds of choices of how to pay this assessment. So I trust the engineer department and their plans, and that's why I and other petitioners are imploring for county help to alleviate the drainage problem and causing great property devaluation and flooding by redirecting with a natural course back to the Scioto River. So I plead for the engineering design that solves the drainage problem in perpetuity for the greatest good, for the greatest number. Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to respond to that comment.
Thank you. We're going to go on to the next person. We'll open it back up for questions and comments later.
She number 30?
Yeah, you were number 30, Mrs. Laura. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else at that on your call there that wants to speak? If not, we'll move on to the next one then, Sarah. Lou Weber, next, please. Did you wish to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just want to let the commissioners know that I have 4 people here that would like to speak.
Okay. Just a reminder, if I could please, that's fine, we'll give them all a chance to speak, but we do need to keep this hearing to a reasonable time frame. So please keep your remarks to 3 minutes, so we give everyone a chance to speak. So Mr. Weber, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I have Larry Franker here. He's going to go first.
Okay. Mr. Fraker, I see number 11, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Fraker, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. You can proceed. You could identify yourself. I assume that, again, it's number 11.
Partial 11, yes.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
I just want to highlight some things about, I'm really disturbed to find out this morning that there's been some discrepancies with soil and water and estimates on the corn, if it's going to work, if it's not going to work. There seems to be some doubt now that if this is even going to work, duplicates in the data. I purchased mine in 1970. I developed it in 78. And I had a excavator and a builder meet me at my lot and made plans for my house. And they advised me how the original ground level, I laid 5 block high, my house at 7 block high outside the original ground level. And I think that was good planning on their part. In reference to wet basement, mine's been flooded 4 times due to my sump pump. That's something that I live with. I don't put anything important down there. I question, you met at the Coopers during a wet season, but there was never anything, has anything been followed up during a dry season? planning was very important as far as building my house. And when Mr. Rollins was a county commissioner, during his tenure, he had laterals put from east to west. And those was placed by the county, maintained by the county. And then when things started going to wire, we have to accept with the damages. The blowouts, I had blowouts because I dig them up and fix them. That's just part of being a property owner. Some of the reasons that we are dealing with blowouts is because of driveways, electric lines, water lines, buildings, outbuildings, pole barns, septic systems. They can't be ignored. They have to be fixed by the landowner, and it's not right for other landowners to come up with that. We kept meeting with Soil and Water, and all we kept hearing was 6131, 6131. I just hope that you realize the burden that you are putting on 50+ landowners. And a lot of them are seniors on fixed incomes. And I'm disappointed again in that, in the calculations and errors in the calculation. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fraker. We'll go to the next person at that location who wants to speak.
The next one is Doris Woods.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Doris Woods.
Doris Woods.
Doris Wood, okay. What, do you have a parcel number?
44. 44.
44.
44, okay, got it. Okay. If I could swear you in, Doris, it's, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
Pardon me?
Just go ahead. Tell them what you want to tell them.
I am against this project. I'm a widow. I live by myself. I'm on a fixed income. And I would just like to say that I don't believe that landowners should pay for all of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next person at that location?
Ann Weber.
Ann Weber, okay. You're number 3?
Yes.
3, okay. You can, let me swear you in. You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
A question that I've always had about this whole thing is we talk about the watershed, but what about the drainage from that area down to the river or wherever the water naturally goes? I haven't heard anything addressed from the county soil people or anything that that discusses that, and that seems to me to be at least half of what this problem is. There's also apparently that pond that is beyond the area that we're talking about. Is that maybe part of the problem? It seems like the watershed is only half. No one has addressed the drainage from the problem area on. And that's all that I have to say.
Okay.
I am against this project.
Okay. That's a good question for, we'll bring Brett Bacon from Soil and Water back up and address the question about, is there a drainage issue beyond this watershed where the drainage goes, the water drainage goes, and then the pond?
I'm not sure which pond she's referring to. If she's referring to the pond that's downstream of parcel 32 there, we've engineered the drainage to work around and with that pond. If it's something further downstream outside of the watershed, I'm not certain of what's being referred to there. As far as the drainage downstream of this project, The project's been designed to meet the request of the petition. Petitioners asked for drainage to be improved to a good and sufficient outlet. We've designed a project that we believe does that, and is a maintainable project.
Okay, so in your opinion, the downstream drainage is not a problem?
Correct.
For this watershed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It looks
information about that, so I think that's
I think above her number 3, it looks as though there's some sort
Are
of.
you referring to the pond on parcel 12?
The one above 3, isn't 3 to the right?
3.
Top
I
right.
see 3.
It looks as though there's some body of water above 3.
Oh. No, you're talking about.
No.
35.
You see what I mean?
Which pond was?
It's number 50.
Pond on number 50?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Where is number 50?
Oh, yes, that the drainage design, the design of the project has been, that pond's been taken into account. The tile is going to be rerouted around that pond, and the surface water will continue to enter the pond and flow through the pond as it does now.
Well, you're kind of missing my point. How do we know that something is not blocking the drainage? I'm not saying that you can't tile around something, but what if that pond is currently blocking the drainage and making this situation worse?
I think that is our assessment, that the tile has not been properly rerouted around the pond, that the tile is outletting into the pond, and that is at least some of the source of the problem in the watershed. The designs for the project would be to reroute the tile around the pond, so that's no longer an issue.
So how about removing the pond? Maybe that would take care of the problem.
That very well may be the case, but that is not what we identified as the best least cost alternative. If landowners would want to get together and do that on their own, that's something that they could undertake, but that's not the plan being proposed as part of the request of the petition.
What you think is that solution would be more expensive?
Correct. I agree.
Well, it's kind of a shame that, number one, that one meeting, that old man who cursed and that Laura Keller referred to, he does not represent the people who are against this. At the same time, neighbors come to neighbors a lot of times for ideas on how to deal with situations like this, and perhaps that would have helped to come up with ideas. We've had a block watch group for several years now, and so the opportunity has been there. Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess the man that, okay. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lou,
Yes.
Other speakers?
Yes, I'll go ahead now. I'm the last one here.
Okay. I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, I'm landowner on number 3.
Okay.
So I could go on for a long time. I'll tell you what, several of my neighbors got with me earlier this year and expressed a lot of concerns about this. I don't owe much in this whole thing. Now, I don't know how it got started that I'm representing all these people. I'm not. And I put together some kind of format to allow them to communicate with the commissioners so that you would get a better feel about the way people in this neighborhood feel. I'm not representing, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm trying to get the information to you so you can make a good and wise decision. So in all that information, I hope that you looked at all the packets that I distributed to you. There's a lot of good, I've talked to everyone in this neighborhood that I could. I sat down and met with them there. It was a great experience to see what they had to say. I did not talk to the people that are for this project. The people that originally signed on to the petition, I figured that they had already made up their mind. But I wanted to know the feelings of the rest of the community. And I wanted to make sure that you had that information. So that's the purpose of that petition, that counter petition that I gave to you, and also the surveys. I wanted to, again, give you as much detail as you could possibly have to make a good and wise decision. So I'm not going to take a whole lot of other time other than to talk about a few specific items. So unfortunately, I think Soil and Water's report to you has way too many generalities. I've worked for 32 years as a manager of engineering and maintenance professionals. And I have evaluated millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in projects. And this report is, and I don't mean to be cruel or mean, but this report is very lacking, I think. So you weren't dense when you were talking about the budget before and what the county owed. I had a very difficult time understanding that too. Just as long as it's clear that the county's paying the 26 if this thing goes forward, and the landowners are only paying the 66 or that difference. But one thing I wanted to point out next was this agricultural benefit. So the project has to have benefits. And this agricultural benefit is very misleading, I'm sorry. But if you look at that one little line item in there that says, given appropriate drainage improvements are in place. And you have to go to NRCS 606 and look at I looked up our soil types, and I looked up the Ohio State Extension 606 recommendations for drainage. You have to have lateral drains every 50 to 60 feet on all these farms to be able to improve the drainage. The drainage that they are installing is not going to change the crop output one iota in this area. So that whole $350,000 that they waived in front of you is not correct. That is an extrapolation of the truth. So if you want to include that $350,000, then you need to include $150,000 at least. There's 116 acres of agricultural, and it's at least $1,000 an acre to install all these lateral drains. Plus, since they're all broken up, you're going to have to include a lot more headers. So I'm saying you're going to have $150,000 additional work. Now, if you include that in your project, then you can claim the 350. Otherwise, that 350 is just pie in the sky. The other side of the coin then gets back to the benefit to residents. And if you look at those survey results, 75% of the people in this neighborhood do not believe that they are being benefited. The benefits that are shown are basically included is that it is a definition from the Ohio Revised Code that if our land drains into this area, then we're considered benefited. But all of these people are saying, what is going to change on my property? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So then if you take a look at the people that are actually going to get benefited, I went back to the Board of Health and took a look at all of the available records for septic systems, home septic systems. And the only thing of the 4 properties that were signed on to this, the only thing I could find under public record was that one had their septic system pumped out in 2017. The rest of them have their original septic systems still intact. Now, these houses are 25 to 30 years old. And as they've stated, that their property has been wet since day one. Well, if the septic systems were going to have a problem, I would dare say that they would already had a problem by now. So I don't think that's really a targeted benefit. The next item is one of those papers I included.
Mr. Weber, you need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. So please answer. Look at map location 4.
I'm sorry, Mr. Weber, could you just hold on a second? We got our attorney here.
I'm sorry to interject, but you are allowed to stop or limit repetitive or impertinent testimony. You cannot limit
new testimony or pertinent. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Sorry, Jeff.
Okay. So please take a look at map location 4, 39, and 22. All those residents are about the same size and they're all right next to each other. And there isn't any, they're all, whether you call downstream or upstream or whatever, look at the variance in what they're paying. Something doesn't seem right. So please take a look at that. I'm just going to say one more thing, and I'm going to be quiet. But I offered in that packet that I gave you an alternative proposal that I would like you to consider. I would like you to deny this drainage petition, but then instruct Soil and Water to move to a mutual agreement procedure in this whole thing. Now, this is going to cost the people that want this thing more money, but they're the ones that are truly going to benefit out of this. And if you can take a look at the information I have on there, it's going to show they're going to get their money back if they end up selling their property. Their value of their property is going to be a lot more than what they're going to end up spending. But I also included 2 items in there from our neighborhood. We called them VA/VE issues, value analysis and value engineering. And the first idea is Roger and Karen Marsh. They're the power of attorney for Elaine Parks. They have proposed that you eliminate that pond. Now, I would take that very seriously as an improvement. Now, I know Soil and Water doesn't want to look at it, and they're saying, well, that's too expensive. I think it needs to be taken a look at. And by the way, also put in there that a 20% contingency in a project only lends itself to mismanagement and abuse. There is never a project that I ever approved with hundreds of millions of dollars that we ever allowed such a huge contingency to exist. Please deny that. The second issue is Tom Price has volunteered the use of some of his heavy equipment to support in draining that pond and cleaning up the channel, and also to be able to remove some of the waste, the cattails and the waste soil down to his Price Organics operation. So those things are going to end up reducing the cost and improving the situation. So please consider that. That's all I'll say then. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Weber. That's it for your location in terms of people who want to testify?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next one then, Sarah. Max, what? Landa? Nanda.
Yeah, hi. This is Umang Victor Nanda and Tracy Nanda. We're the Nanda households.
Okay, you're parcel number 9, I think?
That is correct.
Okay, let me read you the oath. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
We do.
Yes. Okay, thank you. You may proceed if you're in opposition or in favor.
We are in opposition of this, and it seems, we did not attend the previous meeting, but it seems there is an overwhelming majority. I mean, less than 10% or about 10% folks are the ones that want this project. 90% of the taxpayers do not want this project, and I feel that it's no improvement that affects us has any benefit, absolutely, yet we are being asked to pay almost $3,900 for this. We've consulted some experts, and there is absolutely no agricultural benefit that we will achieve from this for a cost that we are being asked to bear, at the moment. Also, it's clear that, the landowner issues, those 4 or 5 landowners issues, if that needs to be solved, then the county needs to take that as a project and work in collaboration with those landowners to fix those specific projects for those landowners. However, to create this project that may or may not achieve the goal that it was set for, and it's clear that a lot of testimonies have shown that there may be still water issues, but more importantly, if this project is mostly opposed in an overwhelming majority, I think it's incumbent on the commissioners to consider that as the pivotal point to approve or deny this project. And based on what I'm hearing here, overwhelmingly, folks spent the last 2 hours, of their, lives here and several more hours. And I really have to commend Mr. Weber here, who put in the extraordinary effort as a citizen we signed a petition that had 41 signatures. We were the 42nd signature, I believe, on there. And it's obvious that most landowners do not want this project. It is definitely ill-timed in the pandemic. And I feel with the economy where it is and a lot of folks living on fixed income, it puts a burden that may not be required and certainly doesn't seem like a necessary project for majority of the owners. Go ahead, Trace.
Yeah, I agree completely with what he said. I completely oppose this project. Where our parcel is, number 9, we seem to be pretty far off from where people are complaining. We get no benefit agriculturally from our farmland for this project to be done. We only just get, it looks like, we bear the biggest burden of the cost, it seems, looking at the spreadsheet. So that seems very unfair. I completely oppose it. I've been around, farm drainage and field tile my whole life. My father's done this for a living for over 50 years. And, had him look over this. I mean, he even knows some of the folks in Delaware Soil Conservation. He's retired now, but, with even my father looking at this, even he doesn't see how, this is going to solve some of the problems. I mean, we try to fix our blowouts. We try to take care of our land. We work very closely with our own farmer. If he sees something, he tells us. We work together. We get it all taken care of. So I completely oppose this project. It does nothing for us, and I don't think it's even going to help the folks who have an issue, those 4 or 5 individuals that need something done. I think there's other ways that they can solve their problems.
And I do want to just summarize again that I think it's, I feel that if a project that is not desired and is considered almost unnecessary by majority of the folks who are going to be paying for it, such a project needs to be vetted very carefully up front before it gets this far, because otherwise the county would face all kinds of challenges. Not only, the participation wouldn't be there, you would have legal issues and it's just, I feel that it certainly seems that there's more work to be done, and the folks who are going to hopefully get benefit from it, those 4 or 5 landowners, they need to work with the engineers to see what can be done to resolve their issue. And like most folks said here, that some of the leach beds, maybe they need to be addressed individually. But this project that was conceived to supposedly solve this issue certainly seems definitely unnecessary from most of our participants here.
Mr. Nanda, let me ask you a question. Do you farm your property or do you lease it?
We lease it. But we
lease it to a farmer, but we're the landowners.
Do you have tile? Have you tiled your field?
Yes, we have specific.
It's older tile. It's not system tiled. A lot of it's been there for a while. We've patched some things up here and there, but it's not system tiled. And I don't see where you're proposing to system tile. You're 25 to 50 feet apart with 4 to 6 inch tile with 12 to 14 inch mains. I don't see, if you really want to system tile all the agricultural land around there to do this sort of thing, well, that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother project. But there's ways to fix things right, and there's ways to try to cobble things along. And if you have drainage issues in your own front and backyard and your own septic tank issues, some of that stuff, you just have to look at the age of it. And same with, driveways and stuff, 20-some-year-old pavement, it wears out over time. Those are just some kinds of things, you probably need to look at that pond and look at some other issues to solve this, because there's a lot of agricultural land around, and I don't see that any of it right in there is system tiled.
All right. We'll move on to the next one. Thank you. Tammy? We have a Tammy next.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tammy Foskey.
Tammy, I'm sorry, couldn't.
Foskey, Foskey.
Okay, which parcel number are you, Tammy?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but it's 4203 Warrensburg Road.
4203 Warrensburg Road.
It's owned jointly with a gentleman named Wes Long.
Number 51.
Number 51?
Yeah. Thank you.
Westland Homes?
Yes, Westland Homes. Yep.
Yes, there we go. Okay.
Yep.
Let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Opposition or in favor?
Opposition.
Okay. You can proceed.
Yeah, I'm going to make this quick. I wholeheartedly agree with the testimony that Mr. Weber gave. When I look at our property, what we're going to see as a change of before and after is virtually nil. And I know that there's been a couple other folks that have mentioned some different alternatives to what's being proposed under this petition. And I'm just not confident that those alternatives have been vetted out completely. And, you know, I don't mean to sound harsh against the folks, the 4 or 5 folks or whoever it is that are having the major issues with their property. But it seems that the folks that are not having an issue with their property, and I believe if I remember correctly, we're one of them that is bearing a pretty large chunk of the cost, and our property before and after is going to look exactly the same. So I would ask that some of these alternatives, removing the one pond, looking at different drainage issues that might already be existing on the road with the culverts. When you drive through there, it's raining and you can see where the culverts are just, it's not flowing anymore. They're backed up, and then that backup, you know, makes its way to some of these problem areas. But just hoping that some of these alternatives will be looked at before this project moves forward.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the next one, sir. Tom Emmons?
Yes, this is Tom.
Okay, which parcel number are you, Tom? You know, you see it on there?
2.
Number 2? Okay. All right, I'll swear you in if you would, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And speaking in opposition or in favor?
Opposition, and I have no further comment.
Okay. Next one? Okay, now we're going into people with no name identification. So we'll just be reading off the phone numbers. If you could step in when your phone number is called.
614-440-0258.
Did everybody hear that? Are you on a microphone? So maybe I could repeat them, Sarah, and make sure everybody can hear it clearly. 614-440-0258.
Yeah.
Unmuted. All right. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next phone number, Sarah, if you would, please. 740-369-8136. 8136.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. If you could give us your name and parcel number, I'll swear you in if you want to testify.
My name is Ann Quillen, and my parcel number is 40.
Okay, great. Got you. I will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
Well, I don't think I need to add anything to the letter. I presume that you got the letter that I submitted earlier this week.
Yes, we got a lot of letters.
Okay. Well, then I'll just leave it there. I'm opposed to the project, and the letter explains why.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the next phone number. 740-369-8265. 8625. Sorry.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Karen Marsh. My parcel number is 4, and I'm 100% against this project.
Let me swear you.
And
Karen?
it's not going to benefit us at all either. And just to let you know, I've lived on this road since 1960, and my parents were...
Sorry, we had to mute you, Karen. We've got to swear you in first. So we'll unmute you and swear you in, and then you can make your testimony if you would, please.
Yes.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Okay. Now you can proceed.
Okay, I'm 100% against this project. And I've lived on this road since 1960. My parents, the Parkses, were approached to buy that property that Coopers and Kellys and all of them are on, and they denied to buy it back then because it was a wet zone, and it wasn't even ever farmed, and you can't drain surface water. And I just wanted to let Laura Kelly know that my dad, Mr. Parks, passed away in 2002, so whatever she was babbling about my dad said to her, I don't think he could have said that from the grave. And my husband's here, and he'd like to speak.
Okay. I need to swear you in as well, sir.
Okay, this is Roger Marsh.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes,
Okay. Proceed.
I'm 100% against this. I too, and I sympathize with these people that have water problems. I too had water problems, and I approached the county, approached the Soil and Conservation, and they both told me that was my responsibility to take care of that water problem. So I put my waterway in, and it went through, I'm in plot number 4, and it went through plots number 36, 47, and 35. This waterway was at my expense. It was not at the expense of the neighbors. So I say they take care of their own problems. And one other thing, I look at Rittenhouse, Oswald, Clemens, and Fraker. They were smart enough to build on high ground, and it looks as though they're being penalized for that with the cost of this project. That's all I have to say.
And thank Mr. Weber.
And I do want to thank Lou Weber for all the work he has done on this project.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next phone number then. 740 396 0189.
This is James McCloud. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And could you repeat your name? I didn't quite catch that.
James McCloud, lot number 10.
Lot number 10. Okay, gotcha. James McCloud.
I'm totally opposed to this. It will not help me in any way. And
we need to swear you in, please.
oh yeah, you need to swear me in.
Okay. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now you can proceed.
I'm opposed to this. It seems like I'm paying the lion's share, and I don't really have any problems. Everybody's got a little bit of water in the basement once in a while, and we just have to deal with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Move on to the next phone number, Sarah. 740 513 740 815 0049. Anybody got that number? Sarah, let's try it one more time. 740 815 0049.
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Good, thank you. You can tell us your name and your parcel number, and we'll swear you in.
Patricia Oswald, parcel number 14.
Okay, let me swear you in, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Okay, proceed. Opposition or in favor?
I am opposed 100%.
Any additional comments?
Yes, I've lived here 30 years. I am not opposed to passing fire levies, school levies, township levies. I'm very concerned about this proposal. I think it will cause more hardships than benefits. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next.
I have my husband.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I would like to, I'm Ed Oswald. I would like to speak.
Okay, we'll need to swear you in, if you would please, sir. Do you solemnly swear testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, proceed.
And I'm also on parcel 14. And I'd just like to say that I'm totally against this project. I see absolutely no benefit to our property here. And I'd like to point out that I hear people nearby talk about flooded basements. And I have a sump pump in my basement, and the only reason it's in there is because of code. But in 30 years, it's never been plugged in. So I don't have any drainage issues here. And I'd also like to point out that my biggest concern is the impact, if this is passed, that it could have on our senior citizens. And there's a lot of senior citizens out here, most of us are, on fixed incomes. And, thanks for listening to me.
Okay.
And we'd also like to thank Lou Weber again for all of his hard work.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Next phone number, Sarah? 740 404 0900.
Yes, good morning or almost good afternoon. Tom Price.
Oh, okay, Tom, let's see, you're number 45?
Let me see here. We've got, yes, there's 45, 17, 33, and 34, and 22, I believe. My wife, Judy, we are on a couple of them, and Tom and Judy on a couple of them.
Okay, great. Let me swear you in, if you would, please, sir. Do you solemnly swear testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can proceed, please.
Okay, thank you, and appreciate your time and effort on all this. It's certainly the first time we're through. I think it's getting along very well, taking some time, but that's what's going to be. As you know, on the first hearing, I was for the project if the water quality issue was addressed, and because of some comments and whatnot, the water quality going into the side of the river, which I feel is one of the great emphasis that we have here in the state, not only in Lake Erie, but everywhere else, we still need to look at that. I will say the highest petition, drainage laws, is undergoing comprehensive revision as we speak, House Bill 340, and is now in the Senate Ag and Natural Resources Committee. But the strong emphasis on clean water coming from farm fields and tiles and ditches is an important, and runoff carries with it nutrients and oils that impact our waterways. We're going to pass up on that one because we decided that a study, I said the water leaving this after this project had to be as good or better, and for some reason we couldn't arrive at an ability to do that, and I think it was because of the drainage law didn't include that, and which was written, back in 1860 or so. So it's about time that we changed that law anyway. So now at this point, I am against the ditch petition, and what has come to light is the fact that the pond that was built many years ago in this waterway on the number 35 property, thereby causing the slow release of water from several of the properties, namely number 31 or the Coopers. As shown in the photo map, the Soil and Water District ditch plan goes around the pond. So you've got a half moon going around the pond, and you're changing the natural drainage of that ditch through there. Because of the, as shown in the photo map, if it's going around it, it's hard to understand how that's going to be more expensive to clean that out, but we won't go there. We would not even have this ditch to petition probably if this pond was not there and the water was flowing through this natural drainage area. Now, granted, the one lady that talked about the sinkholes, I think she's actually talking about blowouts on county tile that's through there. And that's a whole nother situation that Soil and Water in the county needs to address. These blowouts in that county tile should not be paid for by these 50-some owners that are not going to get any advantage out of that. There is strong case history and legal precedents that property owners negatively impacted by the loss of natural drainage have recourse abilities. The map clearly shows an unnatural waterway to be constructed at the expense of those others in the system. When you go out around that pond there, that's an unnatural waterway. If we've got I believe that if this board reaffirms its former order granting the petition and in so doing is aware of the underlying cause, i.e. the pond and the natural waterway, they will, as well as the county engineer and the Delaware Soil and Water District, be at risk of retribution action. There have been extensive discussions led by Mr. Lou Weber that it is possible for this dilemma to be resolved. I'll leave those ideas for another time. But because of extenuating circumstances and new information that has now come to light, I strongly urge that this Board of Commissioners set aside this former order and dismiss the petition. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Okay, we'll go on to the next phone number, Sarah?
This has a Galaxy Note and it's audio or visual only.
Galaxy phone.
Galaxy phone.
So.
Okay, not sure what that means, but maybe we'll figure it out.
You said it's visual only?
Visual only. Is it a phone number?
It just says Galaxy Note 10 Plus. And start the video, let's see what happens.
Okay. This is a little unnerving. I'm gonna start a video that we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Although they don't respond, then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Eric, what do you think?
It just says Galaxy Note 10 Plus and then it has the more. How many more do we have? That's it.
Yeah.
So we'll unmute everybody and ask if anybody else wishes to speak.
This is the last one?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who has not spoken.
Okay. All right, we're doing something very, very dangerous here. We're unmuting everyone. So we're going to get a lot of background noise and other. So if I could encourage everyone to please be quiet for just a minute or two while we ask if there's anyone else that wishes to speak. We've done a lot of these meetings with other forums, and the background noise can really be a challenge. Oh, we have a little baby in the background. That's always good to hear.
Well, baby didn't listen to you, did he?
Yeah.
They've been asked to unmute, so if they don't physically unmute themselves.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll then go to that step and ask anyone, does anyone else have anything they want to say at this point? If you want to say something, what do they do, Sarah? Ask to be unmuted?
They've already been asked to unmute.
Okay.
Just when they speak by themselves.
Okay. Yeah, just one last chance to speak. And if you do want to say something, just identify yourself and unmute yourself.
I say something, please?
Yes, go ahead. If you want to.
Ann Weber.
You already spoke, I think.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing.
Okay. Let me remind you, you're still under oath.
Yes.
Yes, if you could remind us of your lot number, parcel number.
Number 3.
Number 3, okay.
I just want to say that the people on Warrensburg Road are good people and we care about each other. And I feel like there's other options that if, you know, a neighbor needs help, we will help come up with ideas. And I just don't want our road to be divided.
Okay. All right, very good point through this whole thing. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Yes.
My name's Dave Giddens. I didn't speak earlier. I'm at parcel number 15.
Okay, Mr. Giddens, you didn't speak. Let me swear you in if I could, please. Which? You're number 15, I think.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed. And your wife spoke in favor.
Yes, sir. I want to bring up that, you know, I'm concerned for everybody's property values. We are all affected by this. Whether, you know, major ditch work or anything's being done on my property or my neighbors upstream and downstream, I push my water downstream, and the people downstream have to deal with that, just as I have to deal with the water that comes from above me down. My house is also up on a pretty high hill, and the reason my basement flooded, my sump pump physically could not push the water out. Physically could not push it out. So I had to unplug my clean out drain and allow my water to flow across the surface, keep my water from my basement from flooding. So it has nothing to do with, you know, building in a hole or poor drainage or anything like that, or house wise. My sump pump physically could not push it out. So I would like to make the point, my opinion, that this is everybody's problem, because everybody's water flows through this. And that's just my opinion. And I feel that if property values have to start getting sold less, that affects everybody in this whole neighborhood as well. So that's my piece, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna have to get in touch with Price.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Giddens, did you build on the property or did you buy the house already there?
We bought the house already here, but when I bought the home, I come from a dirt working background, so I can see grades, and you know, I pick up on stuff like that. And that was one of the pluses for me, was this house was sitting high. I saw what appeared to be great drainage. And as far as fixing my blowouts, I could fix them. It's just another blowout will happen right beside it. So I could replace the whole pipe, everything across the whole length of my property, and nothing is done about it. So I could fix everything myself. I have the knowledge and the ability to do so. But if my water can't go downhill, it collects. I mean, and that's just a simple fact.
It has to go down. It has to go down.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Last chance.
Yes, Tom Price, I'd like to make one comment.
Yes. Mind you, you're under oath.
Yep, under oath. On the map, we've got the field that's in number 17, and right beside that sliver is an 11-acre field, the top half of which is not in the zone. The bottom half is. That field is systematically tiled. My outlet is right directly where this project outlets. And I've only got about 2 inches of fall from that outlet tile there, that main, going further towards State Route 37. I believe that it's very likely that if this project goes forward, that will be silted in from the construction activities upstream, and we'll be having another ditch petition on this in order for me to get water out of that field, which is agriculturally done, already systematically tiled.
Okay.
And the woods, it's also in that field. There isn't a drop of water comes out of that woods that goes into this system. I can guarantee you that. It'd take a 14-inch rain to get any water into there out of that woods because there's sinkholes in there. It's not blown out tiles, there's sinkholes. And that water doesn't come out of there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any last comments? We do need to wrap it up. We've been at this almost 2 hours.
I'd like to finish, please,
Yes.
Aaron. We're on 15. We're part of the, yes, please approve the petition. When we all started this, we had neighbors who signed the original petition and then backed out. For Mr. Weber to have contacted, it seems, everybody else except the few of us who are for the petition speaks volumes of how unneighborly and how much you dislike us for doing this. And I do think that speaks volumes. And I feel offended that you think we're so not worthy to come and talk to for something, another idea for us to share. We're not stupid. We've been doing this research since 2015, and we would have loved to have seen another idea. However, when we initially reached out to everybody, everybody turned their back on us, and we couldn't have anybody help us. The pond that you were speaking of by the Coopers, that is in line 50 where the drainage comes around, we were told that you wanted nothing to do with that. You didn't want to work with us to do this on our own and avoid the petition of the whole watershed. So don't come to us now and tell the commissioners all of that and change your mind and then exclude us from wanting to work with you and come up with a solution, because that's what we tried in the beginning and none of you wanted to do it.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. If anybody has, well, I think we've given everybody plenty of chance.
Excuse me. I'd like to speak again.
Do you have additional testimony that differs from?
Yes, I do. I'm Karen Marsh, and I'm plot number 4. And the bit about the pond is Jegs hired Tom Dew to go back on their property behind the Coopers and do that work over there. Well, we were told by Tom Dew that pond has nothing to do with that water problem. Now, that's what Tom Dew said, and he was hired by Jegs. Okay. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
And I really want to press how much Lou Weber has done for this neighborhood. And I don't know, but I probably wouldn't approach the people that signed the petition for it when you know they're going to be for it and we're all against it. So that's all I've got to say.
Okay. Again, we need to concentrate on stuff that hasn't been talked about and it relates to the petition issues, or the watershed issues. Okay, I think we're wrapped up with testimony then. So the next step is to close the hearing.
I have a question. If we need more time to evaluate this, do we still close the hearing? Or do we keep the hearing open?
You can close the acceptance of testimony without concluding hearing. So you can say, we're not going to accept any additional testimony. You take additional time, you need to continue the hearing to evaluate it. You can do that.
But we don't want to close the hearing. We need to, my point.
We can end testimony.
End the testimony. Okay, we just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Eric Hostetler, attorney for the commissioners. The resolution that you adopt to close the hearing is not a statutory requirement. So that's an administrative step that we've always done as long as I've been here, to say that is the point at which we're closing the public participation of the hearing. You still have action that is taken after that. So if you need additional time to consider all of the evidence you've received, closing the hearing, as far as I'm concerned, is you're just closing the public participation portion of the hearing.
I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
Make sure.
Okay.
All right. So
I guess we need to close the hearing, then we could have a conversation.
I think, we can do that, Eric? Yes. Okay, okay. So
I would make a motion that we close the
I'll
hearing.
second that motion.
okay, there's been a motion to close the hearing and a second. So any discussion on closing the hearing? We'll take a vote.
People can still listen, correct?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we're not hurting.
Yeah, I think we had the same concern.
Ron, we're still on, correct? Resolution number 20-675, in matter of closing the public hearing to address the Radnor Twp 2015 watershed drainage improvement petition project has been motioned by Mr. Merrill and seconded by Mrs. Lewis, and it is 12:17 p.m. So vote on motion 20-675, Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Okay, so now we can have discussion on the next step with this petition. Yeah. Okay, so open it up. Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Merrill.
I guess I'll go
There's
first.
a lot to
Yeah.
digest.
There is a lot.
Okay. I guess one thing I'd ask is if Brett feels that there are any points that you need to address in the testimony. One of the things I know that Tom Price raised was the House Bill 340. I wonder if you're familiar with that and if
I think Scott maybe can speak
more
to that than myself.
Okay.
Scott Stevens, Administrator with the Delaware Soil and Water.
Yeah, can't hear you well enough.
There we go. Scott Stevens, Administrator with the Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. I have not recently read through House Bill 340 or what changes, but the initial proposal, I think, come from work that was being done by the County Commissioners Association, and there was several administrative type things, the amount of the bond and some other things like that. I don't know at that point in time, the initial proposal or the work that was done by the Commissioners Association included more technical aspects, as Mr. Price would have suggested. However, as it works through committee, there may be other things that would come to bear on that. But my understanding is it's primarily an administrative cleanup effort is where that started.
That was my understanding as well, and it was going to allow drone remote viewings.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Which
rather than
would be convenient.
On-site viewings, right.
So, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else there were different questions raised.
I don't personally have anything to add. I think
we've
covered a lot of bases here, but if the commissioners have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
I have a,
sure.
The pond issue came up by Mr. Price, but frankly, it came up several times before that. And when I heard about going around the pond, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it just got kind of reinforced by the other comments I heard. You have any comments on that?
The first thing I would say is the natural water course isn't being changed. The natural water course in that area is for the surface water to flow down from the properties upstream, and it has always flowed through the area that the pond has been constructed in. And honestly, that's can be typically a good place to build a pond because you need a water source to fill and keep a pond filled. Typical construction, and our recommendation is that when there's tile going through that area, which there often is that the tile is picked up upstream of the pond and rerouted around the pond. The design that we've presented would have the surface water continue to flow through the pond with grading upstream to allow it to efficiently do so, and the tile to be picked up upstream and rerouted around the pond, outletted downstream of the pond. Removal of the pond isn't necessary to cause or to solve the drainage problem or to meet the request of the petition. It's something that could be done if landowners wanted to get together and on that neighborly basis, go ahead and do that. It certainly is a potential solution. We've presented a solution that keeps the pond in place.
Again, from a layman's perspective, it would seem to make more sense for the water to flow through the pond.
The water will continue. The water will continue to flow through the pond.
Surface water.
Yes, surface water.
Otherwise, you'd be going around the pond.
The ponds do not serve as an adequate outlet for a subsurface drain tile because the water level of the pond is above the elevation of the tile. So you have to put it up here, the water level is sitting here, the tile's down here, so water is going to back up in that tile to whatever that surface water elevation is. That's why we design our tile systems to have freeboard, to have some elevation gap between the outlet of the tile and the water body or the conveyance that it's flowing into.
Question I always ask, and you know I'm going to ask it, have you heard anything today that would change your recommendation?
No.
I thought that would be your answer. I don't feel comfortable. I don't think I have enough information today to vote yay or nay. I think a lot of questions were raised. I would like to say for the record that many of the landowners, and I understand their perspective, but it's not a matter of 90% are for it and 10% isn't. That is not our responsibility. That's not how we have to make an evaluation. The key for me is the benefit evaluation, is the benefits exceed the cost. And a few other things that I heard in the testimony. I have not heard enough today that I think I could, in good conscience, vote for or against. I just need more information. Okay. So that's my thought.
All right. Commissioner Lewis?
Okay. For your benefit, Commissioner Lewis, my comment is I don't think I have enough information today to render a decision. I need more time to evaluate and get information.
I would just say that we've heard so much testimony. I'd rather have the time to I do have some questions, but I don't know that I have any specific ones other than the one I raised. I think too, it'd be a good idea to continue, and I can think it over. Yeah, so many things raised.
Yeah, and we got a lot of additional information this week, just the last day or two, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I would like to say I really appreciate the patience and participation of everyone. Some of them were difficult to understand and hear. The voice was not ideal, but to the best of my ability, I'm sure yours, we think we got the gist of it, but it would have been better in a perfect world. I wish we could have heard everybody very clearly. Sure. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
Well, and I think, frankly, what was submitted ahead of time was really helpful for me, because having it written, and I could read it ahead of time rather than just having people say it.
I've read it, but I now need to kind of.
Yeah,
okay.
I would agree.
Okay, with that, sounds like Commissioner Merrill, you're proposing to continue the hearing.
We've already closed the hearing.
Okay, we can't continue the hearing.
I'm confused as to, are you asking for additional information, or are you saying that you need additional time to review all of the information that you've received? I think
that's the latter.
The latter.
Because if you were requiring additional information to be submitted, that would be additional evidence, and you would have to continue the hearing.
Right.
You can make your decision just as a court makes a decision after receiving all evidence at a hearing at some later date. You do not need to continue the hearing to that date, because you will just be announcing your decision.
So I have a question. So if in that evaluation, as we evaluate, and we feel there is a need to get more testimony, I'm not saying suggesting that'd be the case, does that affect how we vote on today?
I would suggest, just so everybody here at the virtual hearing knows when you're going to be taking this up again, that you announce today the date you intend to announce your decision, just so that they know when you're going to be doing that. Right. It's not going to be a continuation of the hearing, but that's the date that you're going to be announcing your decision, and they'll be aware of it, and they can either, hopefully, is at a time where they can come here and be present at the hearing, or they could at least watch the stream of your meeting where you're going to be announcing that decision. That's my recommendation. So it's not strictly a continuation of the hearing.
Right. Okay. It's just saying we're going to have our decision at a future date.
Correct.
And we don't have to say the future date today. You're just recommending it so everybody on the petition, or everybody who
I don't know how much time you need, but ideally you have everybody who wanted to participate in the hearing participating in the hearing. I think you owe it to them to say the date that you expect to announce your decision.
Agreed. Do you have a time frame in mind?
You have a time frame, Jen?
I
thought Jen had.
I think that's if we
continue.
That's if we continue, but we're not going to.
We'll just be doing a regular session and announcing.
It'll just be another resolution in a regular session.
Yes.
So
we should decide now what date we want to.
And I assume that day's flexible. If we decide we need more time beyond that, we could change that date. And theoretically, yeah, just make sure we're all on the same page. I don't know, do you have a date in mind as chairman?
I think a regular session day.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, what do we do?
Let me see.
What about shortly after Labor Day, whatever that date is?
September 10th is the first session after Labor Day.
What date?
September 10th.
Pardon?
September 10th.
That math
Yeah,
really is hard to hear.
September 10th.
Okay, so is that,
We can take the items that were
September
listed
10th.
on the agenda today after the hearing. Either the board will vote in favor of the order or set aside the order. We can have those presented as resolutions on the September 10th session.
Okay.
Which will probably be a live streamed meeting, but
No, I don't
not
think
a
it will.
virtual hearing meeting.
yeah, okay,
Is that?
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lewis? Okay, so, again, this is a unique situation for a whole bunch of reasons. So the conclusion is we will target September 10th to, in the meantime, we'll study the material we receive, and on September 10th, we will have a resolution either for or against. We'll present both options in the list of resolutions. Is that satisfactory?
Would like to point out that you should not review anything new. If anything that has not been presented to
That's
you
true.
at this
Okay.
time
True.
will not be considered.
Right. We'd have to reopen the hearing and offer it. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so that's a good point. To all the people who participated, we can't take any more testimony. So that's an
But it
important
wouldn't
point.
preclude you from driving the area and looking it over from my perspective, if I wanted to do that, would it? You can do that. Yes, I just want to make for the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. That's a good point. Very good point. Okay, so with that, we will plan on making the decision on September 10th. And for everybody who participated online, we do stream our meetings. I doubt we'll be available, we'll have open meetings available in person at that point, but we do stream everything, so you'll be able to see it. Okay, so that's it for that. And
We do have need for executive session.
we do have need for executive session.
We're still running.
Again, thank everyone.
Thanks everyone for participating. And again, this is unique. I think it went very well considering the novelty and the challenges. I want to thank the tech team, our attorney, our clerks, the soil, water, and engineers, and everybody who helped facilitate this. Again, good job. And I think we had a very thorough process here. So